River, an Armello story. A winter funeral. That day, winter picked harshly the northern Needles, as if the snowy peaks were suffering. Usually the wolf clan's capital was surrounded by a metallic sound. From the blacksmith's workshop to the training camps, or even during festivities, the echo of the mountains were surrounded by clatter and howling. But not that day. In the grey light of the sunrise, the only sound echoing throughout the capital was the howl of the northerly wind and the quiet march of the entire wolf clan towards the mausoleum of the chieftains, situated at the north outskirts of the city, beyond the great and strict great hall of the clan. Wolf clan's funerals were usually simple and silent. The more honorable the deceased was, greater was the respect paid during the ceremony. The clan gathered while mourning. Then only the pack of the departed, with his closest friends, took the coffin to the mountains, where the pyre was set up, in order to reunite the deceased with his ancestors. It was a moment of pain, but at the same time it was felt with the awareness that the spirit of the warrior had finally found peace from life's battle. In this occasion, the pain was much more vivid though, like a deep stab in the heart of every single wolf, because the death of the chieftain Thunder Greyman was unexpected. The morning before he was indeed in perfect health as always, and then suddenly in the evening the howl of his dead struck through Spire's stone bluff like a thunder in a starry night. And when a chieftain died, every wolf of the clan was part of the family pack. In front of the procession stood Freya Snowstrider, the widow and now then mother. Despite her old age, she was wearing proudly her warrior armor, surrounded by her shield maidens. The then mother was the one who that night opened the door of the palace and let all the clan get in and mourn the late chieftain. And at the time, she was guiding the pack over the mausoleum. Behind her, her son Thane, the Prince Blades, was following silently with the elders. 8 valiant warriors were carrying the coffin. Behind them, another group was carrying bundles of wood, while the rest of the clan was silently marching. The cubs followed their mothers with confused look, not understanding what was going on, as they felt the cold wind brushing their mantle with its cold grip, which was running savagely through the march. Behind the great hall, the road quickly became narrow and glimpsing at the side of the dark mountain. The stone was worn away by time and frozen by the winter season. Small steps had been carved on the side of the mountain, and the path revolved around it. Then, where the mountain side was exposed to the element, the path dug into the stone, and the march walked through the icy dark. Only footsteps vibrated through the long gallery, while Freya continued without any light, as proof of her faith placed in the heart of the mountain. When the cubs started not to feel their paws anymore because of the cold pavement, their eyes saw the white and blind end of the gallery. The light was almost like a door where you could not see behind it. They crossed the light stuck to the mothers and closed their eyes expecting to bump into that door. Instead, they finally arrived in a wide area, lit by the morning sun. It was like a large stone den. In front of them, the entrance of the mausoleum was standing, also carved in stone, but adorned with bas-reliefs and sculptures of the ancestors, armed, and whose carved eyes watched the ones who dared to get in that sacred place. In front of that, the broadland was protected from the wind by high rock walls, on whose internal ledge the caps were seated, while the coffin was laid at the center of the location. With eyes full of curiosity and a bit of confusion, the younglings watched Lady Freya giving orders to the warriors to adjust the bundles of wood around the coffin, while the rest of the clan was standing silent all around the pyre. One of the bearers, a grey-brown female wolf with amber eyes, lit a torch with the crack of her flint and humbly passed the torch to the den mother, who silently took it and got closer to the pyre. The flame of the torch quivered as a cold breeze blew through the wide area, while the mountain was howling because of the northern wind. The green eyes of Freya stared at the pyre. The grey-brown wolf could notice the deep sorrow in that look, but at the same time she noticed a flinch of worry, just a moment before the silver wolf threw the torch in the pyre. The red and golden fire rose high in the middle of the space, while the elders started howling, followed by the warriors and the rest of the clan, even the cubs. The widow stood silent, and when the clan stopped, her owl pierced the air with a high note, and for a moment she was no longer an old-aged wolf, but a strong and young silver warrior whose voice could cut the northern wind itself. When the last flame of the pyre extinguished and the last thread of smoke disappeared in the bright blue sky, the ashes were collected and distributed among the community by the elders, while the widow got in the mausoleum to pray the ancestors. The rest of the clan slowly went back to the capital, with their heart still heavy for the loss of the chieftain.
River.
The grey-brown wolf turned its head as an impressive black-white wolf in a blue armor and a belt of foxtails called her. It was tall almost as one of the statues guarding the entrance. River gave the last instruction to the young warriors in front of her. Then she went straight to the wolf, who was waiting with its arm crossed.
Magna, I'm here with a message for the Den Mother, but I know you two will be interested. Your sister Sky has left the South Clan border, following the track of the rot.
The amber eyes of the wolf flinched for a moment. The memories of the day before were still confused and vanishing. The aching pain of her paws for the long run from Stone Bluff to Esterdale and back in a day. The fast, anxious heartbeat because of the discovery of the threat for the whole wolf clan. The hearing held with Lady Freya, followed by the obligation to stay back at the Great Hall, while the Den Mother and her twin sister Sky were going to Stonespire. That was the last time she saw her sister. Knowing about her from the head guard of the Shield Maidens was somehow a relief, despite the mission she was on. I should be the one who's supposed to follow the rot right now. River thanked the Shield Maiden with a nod of the head, letting her go back to the Den Mother. Here, River, this is yours. in the paws of the elders, there was a little and simple leather bag. Inside that, a handful of the chieftain ashes. The grey-brown female bowed and thanked the elders, taking the leather bag and walking back to the capital with the rest of the clan. Like a river from the spring, running down from the mountain, the wolves went back to the capitals. Then each wolf and family's representative went back to their town and their houses. River and the rest of the rangers guarded the retreat. The grey-brown wolf was apparently unperturbed, but an unexpected shout from one of the cubs who was playing with his friend a tag game was enough for the wolf to nock an arrow. Her eyes sparkled with tension, while her pupil searched for the provenance of the voice. When she saw the cub dart on her right side, followed by the other puppies, for an instant she stopped and watched them with feeling of anxiety, nostalgia, and concern for her twin sister Sky. She wasn't doubting that her sister was one of the best rangers. She was still incredulous for the possibility that the rot was something real and was truly coming from the mountains of her clan. The wolf looked at the peaks behind her. Dark and grey winter clouds started to surround the highest summits, with the wind still howling with cold mercilessly. For a brief moment, River asked herself if those were simple clouds or even in there the rot was hiding.